Maybe people from the back, you can come, because we don't have a bigger crowd, maybe you can come in.
Yeah, please, come up.
We'll have a bit more engaging conversation.
How about color? Shall we?
Stay in the camera side?
No.
Stand on the other side.
There you go. Stand on the other side.
You should stand.
You should stay on the other side.
Thanks for the name tag. It's first one. There you go. Welcome. Thank you for coming today.
My name is Daniel Peralta. I am the president of the student government here, as well as the USS delegate with Muhammad Arshad. And today we're going to be doing a student panel with a couple of students are from Hostos, and I'm gonna ask the panelists to please introduce themselves, and beginning with Jason Littell, the oldest alumni in the room.
I'm Shalanda Tober for the moment until she gets here. She's on her way from downtown.
I'm Javon Hurley. I'm a Hostos alumni. I'm currently at CCNY. I'm studying majoring in pre law and a minor in public policy, and now a new minor in military science.
Thank you. Let me know if you can't hear me.
I think we're here.
Yeah. My name is Muhammad Arshad, and I'm currently a graduate student at City College. My undergrad was from CCNY, chemical engineering. My grad is Master's in Public Administration. And I went to LaGuardia before, and before that I went to Hunter. So I've been all over. I worked at City Tech, I took classes at John Jay. So I've been around in CUNY for a number of years, I think close to 6 years, all my undergrad and grad. And currently I serve as the chairperson of University Student Senate, which is, people like to say, a shorter version of student government for whole CUNY. We have delegates from every student government from all the CUNY campuses.
Hi, my name is Charles Harding. I'm currently a junior at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. I'm a graduate of Bronx Community College. I'm currently serving on the Malave Leadership Academy.
Hi, my name is Ricia Rayo. This is my last semester of my master's program at CCNY. I'm currently writing my thesis. I come from Hostos. I started Hostos in 2009 and then transferred to City and continued my graduate program there. I'm applying to PhD programs next fall, and my community building work at CCNY has been based on organizing undocumented students to so that they're able to go to school, and also organizing so that CCNY policies better reflect their demographics versus reflecting the Board of Trustees.
Thank you very much. So we're gonna be asking them a couple of questions, a few questions, and then we're gonna open the floor to the students from CUNY. So the first question, we're gonna start with Juana. We're gonna move down the row. Is when was the first time that you understood yourself to be a leader?
Oh my gosh, the first time I understood myself to be a leader was when I started here in 2011. It was the first day of registration, and everybody knows the first day of registration is the most stressful, especially for students who've never been to college or coming back. And we were there like for hours, and like I'm sitting there cracking jokes and telling everybody to calm down because that room was probably getting like a pack of wild animals. And I was like, everybody, let's calm down, let's organize this. Like, everybody start picking out your classes, so when it's your time, it's going to go by quickly so everybody can get their turn and everybody can be happy with what they want.
Well, moves on to me. Leader, I'm not sure if I would use the word leader, but more like public servant. So I went to boarding school when I was in Pakistan for 6 years, and that's where I began to learn that we have to do public service, which where the passion comes from, just helping other people out, because you have to make decisions between making money and then helping the people. At some point you can join the both, but most of the time when you're doing public service, there's not a lot of money in it. So for me, that's when I realized during the boarding school, just helping juniors, just helping them with their their subjects that they're studying, or helping them maybe, you know, teach them how to tie a tie. These are small things that you start helping people because someone has to do it. If we all start worrying about one thing and just forget the public, then it just, our society as a whole just falls apart. So that's where I understand. Currently I'm a research fellow and I'm doing research on leadership. That's why I don't like to use the word leadership itself, because it includes so many different things into it, and just taking the charge. I can use comfortably the word public service, right? Just help other people around our community. So I realized, but I was in 8th grade when I realized that I have to. That's a personal need for myself, that I have to help people around me and help them realize their potential and just move forward in life.
For me, I would say the first time that I really understood my position as a student advocate, really like the power that, you know, that what it represents to be a student advocate would be when I was chosen along with the then chair of USS Corey Provost to represent the student voice on the search committee for to find the vice chancellor of student affairs. So this is the person that's going to be the person in the CUNY chancellery that represents and speaks up for all students. And so being chosen as one of the student body to ask the questions that we want and to find out what we need and to let them know when we look for somebody like that. I felt that was hugely enormous, and I thought that that it was really good of CUNY to even have students on that panel to choose to pick someone, because a lot of places these high positions are chosen for you, and you don't never really get to speak to the person, you don't get to meet them until after it's already done, and how do you know he's the person that represents you best? So even to have students in the room at all, and to have our opinions respected and the way that we were treated, I thought it was really good. That's when I really kind of grasped the scope of how much CUNY values students.
I think I was around 8 or 9 when my mom sat me down and explained to me that I was the oldest of not only my siblings but of all my cousins. And therefore, everywhere we went, people were going to be looking at me and then gauging what I did and my actions as what was appropriate, because I was the oldest. And I remember thinking, you know, I didn't ask for the responsibility. That's a huge responsibility. But growing up within that family dynamic and me always being the oldest, I always had that in the back of my head that whatever I do, people are going to see and think that's correct, because you look at your elders for gauging how you should react. And so that's stuck with me throughout my life, and I've understood that in group situations, even if I am not a leader in that group, I am sort of leading my own personal choices and what I'm doing and the choices that I'm making about my actions. And so being aware that I'm not floating around autonomously in the world, but I'm part of a larger system. And being part of a larger system means that you have to be aware of the choices that you're making. And that's really been beneficial, I think, to me, being able to navigate through various systems like CUNY.
Thank you. We'd like our panelists to just arrive to please introduce yourself. And same question, when was the first time that you understood yourself to be a leader?
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Shalonda Tolbert. I graduated from Hostos as well as an honor student here. I was the Phi Theta Kappa president, as well as the head of the scholarship committee when I was here. Now I'm in law school. The first time that I recall when I realized that I was a leader.
The first time you understood yourself to be a leader?
To be honest with you, that was something that had to be brought out, because when I first entered into college, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, how I wanted to interact, if I wanted to interact, nor was I sure what I wanted to major in. And then I became part of the Leadership Academy. And being around my fellow students and the different alumni that were here at the time, you had a chance to partake in so many different varieties of events, like, you know, the community service events, the Senate meetings. You had a chance to be able to clarify or get a good ideal of what it is that you might want to do and learn how to speak up. So to be quite frank, I don't have one particular instance where I was like, okay, this is it, this is how I know that I'm a leader. These things just developed and they were brought out the more I interacted with students and got an idea of what was going on in society, what I wanted to do with my life, and it just kind of just came out from there.
Thank you. Now, I would like to share my experience as well. I mean, I'm 19 now. I was 17 when I started in Hostos. I had graduated high school one semester before the expected graduation date, and in the interest of time, I chose Hostos. So they gave me a week, sort of the transition between high school and college. And during that week, I was basically doing paperwork here. And as my first semester, I took public speaking. It was one of the required classes. They told me that in the first couple of years of college, before you start into your career, it was just required courses. So I took public speaking. I had never taken that class before, and I thought it was interesting. I mean, I never saw myself as someone who would be making speeches one day. I never saw myself as being where I am right now. And in that class, I met a person from the Leadership Academy. I had heard about the Leadership Academy before, and I joined 3 days after I started college. But I never saw myself as a leader until that classmate in that class. He asked me to help out in a workshop. And from that workshop, an opportunity opened where I was able to be part of the club, and then from the club, be an executive of the club, and then that opened so much more doors up to where I am now in the student government. I never imagined myself to be here in this position. So I will say that it started, I never saw myself as a leader until the moment where I was actually helping without expecting anything in return. And that just opened one door and another led to the other. But now, I would like to ask you guys, what was the toughest decision that you had to make in a leadership position? Shauna, please.
I feel like I've just been put in a position right now. The toughest position I've been put in. I would say it would be my experience as being part of the Honor Society here. And the reason being is because of the stipulations that were set to be part of the Honor Society as far as your GPA and being able to guide students on to their senior colleges. Most of the challenges that came up was whether you were still going to be able to receive scholarships, once you go on to your senior college. Most of the senior colleges didn't necessarily have this chapter, and they had other chapters, so there was different obstacles that arose in that, and then of course making sure that at the time, I think we were on the 4th or 5th floor. You have to forgive me, I honestly don't remember, it's been like 5 years now, but making sure that our office was suitable for students to be able to come and speak to us, because we were all in the same position, regardless of whether we were actually active in different events or things that were going on here in the college. I think for me, the most challenge was making sure that I was there for students to be able to answer those questions, and in order for me to answer the questions, that meant that I had to take on the responsibility of calling a chapter and getting familiar with the chapter, and going to events and meeting with other students at other colleges, so that way I could guide the students from here and say, because for example, one of the challenges were the chapter was only allotted in certain senior colleges, like City College was not one of them, I believe Baruch was, and so forth. But if you don't go to City College, and you're part of the Honor Society here, why should you not have been still allotted that same, afforded the same ability? So what I did was I wrote a proposal and I had sent it over to Phi Theta Kappa, basically stating that regardless of the choice of what senior colleges the students chose, being part of that chapter still meant that you still had the eligibility to receive those scholarships. So it should not have been any stipulations. And they agreed, and so most of the students would come and follow up with me, and I would guide them on how to go forth and get the scholarships. If we work hard and we try to keep up our grades, I don't think the senior college that you choose to move on to from here should be something that should be able to deter you from receiving what you've worked so hard to get. So, thank you.
So many. I think it was like, I was in a club at the time, I was vice president, and it's like choosing your friendship. you're friends with somebody and they're also in a position, they're the higher up of the club, and then I had to choose ethics over friendship. And that's two of the hardest things you have to do sometimes in leadership, because you know, you might be in a group with your friends, but like not all the time you guys have the same vision or the path of where the group is supposed to go. And at the time, we were friends, but we didn't have the same vision of what we felt how the organization should have went. And I felt that he was misrepresenting the organization, and as an ethical person, I had to speak up, I had to put friendship on the side. And because of that, I lost a friend, but at the same time, I had to take what was at hand, what was at stake, gaining students, losing students over somebody's unethical behavior, and I couldn't let that happen.
Thank you. So the toughest decision, I'll just speak to the position that I'm currently in. Every decision that I make is a difficult decision, and it is a tough decision because if it is not about policy, it's about people and it's about students. And I'm elected by the students to be their voice. So then now I'll have to tell you a little bit more about my position. As a chairperson of USS, we talk about all the policies that affect students. We can talk about something that's already in draft, like expressive policy, expressive conduct policy of how students express themselves on campuses. Now, it is a very tough decision because it will control, if passed, that how students and where on campus students can express themselves as in terms of anything that you want to do. And it is a very tough decision because every student's life is impacted by it. And it could be decisions about pathways. Now, I know most of the students you'll be familiar about it. It affects every student now who has more than less than 30 credits and incoming freshmen. All these decisions that we make in University Student Senate, and me as a chairperson of University Student Senate, every decision is a tough decision. That's where the ethics come in, where you have to make the right decision and you have to put your position and the role that you are in, that comes first, and all the relationships comes after. Because in the meantime, because we are all learning, I'm learning with you because I'm still a student, and we realize as we move forward and we learn as we make a decision what is the right one and what is the wrong one, and we learn from both. When we make a mistake, we learn from mistake what not to do, and when we make the right decision, and then we make sure that this is the right decision and this is what we'll do in future. It could be a smaller decision, and I was just in a previous workshop, and it was Charlie Samboy. He was talking about just renewing his passport, and it's a small decision where he didn't renew his passport, but today his uncle passed away and he couldn't travel because his passport is expired, so he couldn't travel. So back then it might have seemed like it's a small decision and it's not an important decision, but relative to what? So every decision that you will make in what classes to pick, what professors to take, to what you're going to wear, every decision is a tough decision because you'll have to live with it for the rest of your life.
The most difficult decision I would have to say that I've had to make as a student leader would be to be a student leader, because there's a lot of things outside of what goes on in my school and what goes on in my personal life. I have 2 kids that I got to think about. I have a wife now that I have to provide for. I have a job. You know, these are the things that you have to decide, the sacrifices that you make when you make the commitment to become a student leader, because you can't put or minimize your decision to be a student leader down to like, oh, well, this is nothing compared to the other things I have going on, because there's a lot of people that depend on you. When you run for these positions and you get chosen by the student body, they expect you to represent them. So it becomes one more responsibility. And you have to realize that you can accept that responsibility knowingly and willingly and give that just as much of yourself as you can every other part of your life. So I think it's just a balance. Because sometimes I have to be somewhere for as a student leader, which means I'm taking time away from the other parts of my life. And so when I made the decision, I didn't make it lightly. It was, I'd probably say, one of the toughest decisions I've had to make as a student leader because of the sacrifices that came with it. So I think just in general, just being willing to say that I'm willing to do the job and that not to let anyone down on any part is the type of decision I
I agree with everyone, and I think there's no sort of singular decision that I've made or experience that I've had, although I will share one that happened last semester just because I think it gives another perspective on this relationship versus ethical question. Because for me, as an organizer, it's really important to maintain relationships, and relationships build empathy, and empathy is something that's very important with any sort of forward movement. So this past semester at City College, the Morales Shakur Community Center was taken away from students overnight. And there were protests that were organized, and there were rallies that were organized. And some of the first rallies, really the second round of rallies, had huge public safety presence. Now, Hostos folks, we know our public safety. We know the people who work here. We say good morning. They've met my son when I come in on the weekends. When I don't have my ID, they let me in. I know these folks, and I feel like I have a relationship with them. When I was put in a position at City College where I was organizing rallies against the administration, it was public safety who I had to face. And so a lot of the organizers were extremely belligerent with public safety, and in some cases rightfully so, and in other cases not so much. And so I had to make a decision during the planning committee meetings, because I was on the logistical team, about who and how we were going to attack people. And what came out of it was that, I said, look, I know these public safety people. They're not our enemy. They use the Morales Shakur Center if they knew about it, and if they're not the ones we're fighting against. And so how can we use the relationships we have so that we don't dehumanize each other or other each other, and how we can continue to have an exchange? And so I volunteered to go talk to a couple of the public safety people at CCNY and invite them to our planning meeting. And some of them showed up. And they were interested because I said, look, we give out books, the programs that are run out of here are positive and would benefit not only us, but y'all, and if y'all are students also. And so how can we work together and organize and have mass mobilizations? And so I think it's really important to do that. And so I think while sometimes choosing an ethical decision over a relationship is important, but I don't always know if that's the dichotomy, and I also think choosing relationships is something that's really powerful.
Thank you. Now that brings me to my next question. Seeing that this in the Emerging Leaders Conference, the keynote speaker, Wayne Ho, he spoke a lot about ethics and morality and character. And I would like to know, because we might, because of this work, because of this conference, there might open doors for us where we might be in a position similar to the ones you have right now. And we want to know, if it comes to this point, what ethical or moral issues have you guys faced in your life or your careers as student leaders? And more importantly, how did you deal with that issue, and what did you learn from it?
Oh my gosh. I remember making a big mistake as a student leader. Not communicating effectively as a student leader. Sometimes we're so caught up in power that we do not, sometimes we lose how to communicate effectively. And this one situation just got it was a whole bunch of issues that just got totally out of control. And I did something that I shouldn't have done. And then I'm like, you know what? I felt like no one was listening around me as a student leader. And I'm like, well, you know what? I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And then and then I had to really sit down months and months and think about it. Listen, I have, this might be a failure, but actually, you have to fail sometimes to really call yourself a leader. You have to fail. Everybody's like, oh, you have to be great at everything you do. You have to fail because you've seen your mistakes and now you can control situations better as a leader when you fail. And I used to think it was so bad to fail, but now I think a triumph. If you fail the first time, try it again.
Thank you. Mohammed?
Ethical decision. So I think it incorporates into everyday life that we are. As a student leader, we have opportunities that regular students don't. We have doors open to us that the regular students don't. I'm pretty sure you can just go up to Vice President's office and the student life director. I'm pretty sure that Mr. Reinhardt is sitting at the end. Like, I can pick up a phone and I give him a lot of phone calls and just asking him, oh, what happened to this paperwork? Or what happened to that paperwork? As a student leader, we have these opportunities, but at the same time, there are people call them baggages that comes with it, where you have opportunities like jobs, internships, scholarships that are available to you because you know people who know people, which regular students don't. And there's a fine line between taking advantage of those and at the same time representing students, because as a student leader, you have to make decisions sometime with the administration and sometime against the administration. So positioning yourself in a way where you're not leaning either way in terms of, let's just say, I love Mr. Reinhardt because we worked together for years. I've been in City College for years, but that shouldn't stop me to represent my students that have voted me in, even though I'm going against what Mr. Reinhardt as an administrator feels, because at the same situation with Morales Shakur Center, where there was a division, even though we ate together, we went to retreats together, that's still, so the ethical decision into that is you respect. It's not that you don't, you disrespect people, but the primary reason that you are in the office is for students, and don't get blindsided with the opportunities or the baggage or the tag that comes with being a student leader and the opportunities that you kind of put your constituency on the side and not represent them and not voice their concerns. It could be anything. It could be that they're not getting into class, that their professor gave them an FIN and then they can't complete it. It could be that they can't get their e-permit class. It could be as small as that, and it could be that they drop the student from school. And it could be as big as kicking Morales Shakur Center overnight. Nobody knew anything about it. So in order to do your job as a student leader, and that's what I personally do into every decision that I make, I think about 10, 15, 20 years ahead of me, the chairperson of University Student Senate who's going to come after me, what will he have to face if I make this decision? And if I go one way or the other, or if I'm too close to administration, or if I'm too close to other side, and if I can do my job effectively. So we have to, my personal decisions every time is my constituency students. So that is a priority. If it comes with sacrifices, there might be some jobs that you can't take. There might be some internships that you can't take as a student leader because conflict of interest. So it comes with the sacrifices as it comes with the baggages. So these are the ethical decisions that you have to incorporate into your decisions. It comes every day. It could be walking past by and someone hands you down a flyer and say that this is a scholarship. And I know the person who's the chairperson of the scholarship committee, you should apply for it. And I'm pretty sure you'll get it. And as a student leader, everyone in the administration knows you. I'm pretty sure your president and your administration knows who the president is, but they don't know the students who are sitting here. They're from Hostos. They don't know who they are. So as it comes with the baggage, it comes with the sacrifice. So we keep both in consideration when we are making decisions and not putting our students behind us, because that's why we are in the position that we are.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Mohammed. Before we move to Charles, sorry. Shalanda?
You know, I have a few things to say with regards to that. First, I'm going to start off with saying that for me, what's the biggest issue for me with leadership has to be consistency. I don't feel like you can obtain any position, even as a student, you have a position. And you have to consistently discipline yourself and give yourself some credibility for the different leaders that are in position to be able to help you. You can't, as, I'm sorry, I didn't know your name. So as Ron indicated, he mentioned something as briefly as a student maybe having an FIN. You know, when you go to student government and you present your case. But then as student government, when they go to fight for you, if we find that you don't have a leg to stand on, you haven't been on class, you haven't been doing work, you have to be able to work together. with all the organizations. That's number one. For me, the challenge when I entered into Hostos, one, I'm almost 40 years old. I have 3 sons, teenagers. When I entered into Hostos, I was still in the Department of Corrections, and I retired after I graduated from here. So one of the hugest challenges ethically and morally for me was to lead by example, not only in my school environment, but in my home environment as well. Because I have 3 males that I'm trying to raise to prevent from arriving at Rikers Island, where I work, and seeing those challenges that the minority, whether it's blacks, Hispanics, whatever, was facing outside of the academic academia world, and then coming to school and being amidst students that were my children's age. You understand? So with that being said, in addition to being a correctional officer, I knew a lot of the public safety officers who used to be in corrections. So there was always a challenge somewhere, because somewhere someone expected you to have your sense of loyalty in that avenue. And that's where it becomes, the challenge becomes being true to yourself and what you believe in. And I believe once you know, as you develop and you get older, you start getting more of a sense of who you are. And once you do that, you're consistent in everything that you do, because no one can ever deter you from that avenue. So whether you take on a position here at City College, I graduated from City College as well. However you move in your academic world is going to be the same way that you're going to move in your personal life. Everything will just come and coincide together, because these are the personal beliefs that you have, and these are the things that you're looking to achieve. And no one can ever take that away from you. So of course, as my friend here said earlier about the challenge that she had, you know, was determining her friendship from her position. One thing I've learned since I've been in school is the more you're trying to achieve things and the goals that you're trying to achieve, the direction that you're heading, you'll see different ones just falling off that path. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, it just comes at a point as you get older and you mature, you realize that we might have been friends, but we do not have that same sense of vision. And I'm not talking about sense of vision as you majoring in criminology and I'm majoring in nursing. I'm talking about the vision to want to achieve, and the vision of wanting to stand up and speak up for the students that's going to come in after you and that's going to be sitting in the same seats as you guys. So.
Thank you. Charles?
My biggest challenge morally is, I think we I could say, since I became a student leader, was homelessness, actually. When I started off at Bronx Community College about a year in or so, I lost my job and I couldn't pay my rent and I became homeless. So everything that I did at that point was a matter of whether or not I was even going to continue to be a college student or a student leader in general. So just like just holding myself together and finding the services available on my campus to help me out in my time of need, and not letting my own personal issues, although they were great, stop me from doing my job as a student leader. Like, no one in my student government knew, nobody on my campus knew like the difference between when I was homeless and when I wasn't, because my work as a student, my work as a student leader, my work didn't slack. I made sure that I didn't let my personal situation stop me from fulfilling the obligation that I made. So I think that was the toughest decision for me, and the way I got around it was just the support of my student life professionals and a couple of other people on my campus who, you know, when I needed somebody to talk to, or when I needed a place to turn, or when I needed somewhere to find out where I was going to go, where I was going to sleep for the next night, they just really kept my confidence, and they helped me out, and they kept me on the road, they kept me, you know, enrolled, and kept my head focused when I wandered a little bit. So I think that was the toughest moral ethical decision that I've ever had to make as a student, you know, just hanging in there, just finishing and graduating from Bronx Community College, being able to continue my education, and just, I couldn't even begin to thank the people that helped me make who they are. That was the toughest part for me.
Thank you.
Yes, for sharing that too. I think it's really important as someone who was raised poor and with a family who are undocumented. It's a privilege to be in school. And so for me, I understand that while at one point I was in a shelter with my son, but I also understood that I was in school and that was a privilege. And we're willing to invest money and invest time in looking pretty and Facebook and Instagram and all of this nonsense, but we're not all the time willing to invest money in our education and our knowledge of ourselves. And so I think what's really interesting to me about just sort of reacting to everyone's or statements is that there's a lot of different versions of leadership. There's top-down, where like Muhammad talks about his constituents and students, which is one model of leadership, and it's vertical. You know, and you have your leader, and then you have everyone else. And then there's another model that's horizontal, and that's really what I try to implement in my life, where I don't want constituents, and I don't want to be able to access doors that other people can't access, although I know that's a part of it. For me, it's more important to open those doors to everyone. It's not, for me, my leadership role is not about getting in and then changing policy for everyone else. For me, my leadership position is about organizing people at the bottom, at the grassroots level, people who are being affected, to challenge people who are making policies. Because I really believe in mass mobilization, and that comes from poverty. I mean, I wouldn't have survived if it wasn't for my neighbors helping me with my son, or making me dinner, or me helping out when someone's family died, and having that community. For me, community, organizing people, these are the things these are the leaders that have meant the most to me, helping me figure out where I'm going to eat, daily things. And then that bottom, that bottom of the pyramid, that foundation